Reason to Breathe. Chapter 6. Different Planet. As we neared the front steps, we spotted Sarah and Jason sitting off to the side along a stone wall. They were deep in conversation, with red cups in their hands, oblivious to the party happening inside. "Hey, Sarah," I said as I walked over, breaking her entranced attention. "Emma, I was waiting for you," she exclaimed as she jumped up from the wall and went to hug me, but restrained herself when she saw my body tense for the embrace. Sensing Sarah wasn't quite ready to give up her moment with Jason, I declared, "We're going in. Find me inside later." "Okay," she replied with a beaming smile that could only mean that I wasn't going to see her for a while. I was so wrapped up in my anxiety that I didn't realize Evan had grabbed my hand upon entering the loud, crowded space. Not until he was leading me through the entanglement of bodies. I didn't pull away as we cruised through the bodies, afraid that I would be stranded if I let go. Wide eyes followed me through the crowd. Evidently not everyone who was here had been at the football game, or had received the circulating texts. The house was the typical huge Wesleyan estate, with an open floor plan that was conducive to throwing a large party. There were only 2 rooms at the front of the house, enclosed by walls. The formal dining room and another room with a large wooden door, which appeared to be locked. We squeezed through to the back of the house, where we found the kitchen. The island in the kitchen was lined with different colored liquor bottles and soda, ending with a large stack of red plastic cups next to a tap handle. "Want something to drink?" Evan yelled, still holding my hand. "Diet whatever's fine," I yelled back. He left me standing on one side of the bar to get our drinks at the other end. Instantly consumed by the crowd within a few feet it took to reach the sodas. "Holy shit, Emma Thomas?" I heard someone yell from across the room. I froze, afraid to look. The explanation caught the attention of a few other people. They evidently were among the few who hadn't heard that I was at the party. Since they couldn't stop staring at me, I spotted a guy from my chemistry class as he fought his way through the crowd, parting the bodies with his red cup. "Hi, Ryan." "I can't believe you're here," he exclaimed, throwing his arms around me in a tight embrace with alcohol rolling off his breath. Great. He was drunk. I tensed, unable to react to his breach of my personal space until he finally let go. "Wow, this is so great," he said with a ridiculous smile on his face. "I was hoping to see you tonight. I heard you were at the game. Do you want a drink?" "Hey, Ryan," I heard Evan say from behind me. I turned toward him with a panicked expression, but he didn't pick up on it. Instead, he handed me one of the cups he was holding. "Evan!" Ryan hollered in a volume too loud for how close we were standing to him. He put his arm around me and zealously pulled me toward him, making me spill my drink. He was oblivious. "Evan, you know Emma Thomas, right? She's the coolest person." I gave Evan my wide-eyed look of despair. He raised his eyebrows, finally getting it. "Yes, Ryan, I know Emma," he said, grabbing my hand and pulling me carefully away from Ryan. "We actually came here together." Ryan appeared confused and then shocked as he released me. "You did? Oh man, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "It's okay," Evan assured him. "We're going outside. We'll see you later." Evan turned toward the sliding doors that led to the deck. It was a little less crowded and definitely quieter, leaving the music behind in the house. We found an empty section of railing and leaned our backs against it, watching the craziness inside. "I'm sorry about that," Evan finally said, leaning on his forearm to face me. "I had no idea why you'd given me that look. I didn't know Ryan liked you." "Neither did I confessed quietly. "Thanks for getting me out of there. I'm way out of my comfort zone with all these people." "Really?" Evan shot me a teasing smile. "I don't think I noticed when you could barely force yourself through the front door." "Okay, so I'm here for Sarah," I admitted with a sigh. "She wanted to ask Jason Stark out since the beginning of this year, and this was a perfect opportunity. I'm here for moral support." "It looks like Sarah's doing just fine without you," Evan noted wryly. "I think you're the one needing the support." I scowled up at him, then said, "Thanks a lot," with a mocking smile. "Matthews," a male voice yelled from the doorway. "Hi, Jake," Evan greeted the voice with a shake of his hand. It's good to see you, Jake said. No way. Is that Emma Thomas? I smiled awkwardly and nodded. Wait, did you come here together? He asked, looking at Evan with a sly grin. I brought her here to meet up with Sarah, Evan explained. Wow, I can't believe you're here, Jake shook his head, looking me over. Can I get you something to drink? I raised my cup. Thanks, I'm all set. Maybe I'll see you inside and I can refill it for you, he said, flashing his teeth. I froze, trying to understand what was going on. I swore I was on a different planet, and on this planet people noticed me. Some noticed me too much. I desperately wanted to be on the other side of the locked door at the front of the house. Did you guys see the fire pit they have around the side of the house? No, Evan replied. It's pretty cool. You should check it out, Jake encouraged. I'll see you later. He winked at me before he turned away. I stood there stunned. Did he really just wink at me, I asked, completely astounded. I think he did, Evan confirmed with a small laugh. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I suddenly realized. I'm so glad I'm finding more ways to entertain you. This is horrifying for me. I don't think you quite get that. Evan looked at my distraught face, straightening out his smile. I'm sorry, you're right. I can tell you're not enjoying this. Let's go check out the fire pit. It's probably less crowded. Evan, you don't have to stay with me. You should go in the house and meet people. It looks like the entire junior and senior classes are here. I'll be fine. I tried to assure him with one of my forced smiles. He looked at me doubtfully. I really did have to work on faking smiles, didn't I? How about this? I'll walk down to the fire pit with you, and then I'll make a round inside the house before coming back to check on you. Okay, I agreed reluctantly. As much as I hated the thought of being alone at this party, I wasn't going to ruin Evan's night by making him feel obligated to babysit me. I was used to being invisible, and I could sink into the shadows again, even on this planet. The deck became more crowded as we moved toward the stairs that led to the backyard. Evan grabbed my hand to lead me through. Evan, a female voice exclaimed. Although he was still holding my hand, we were cut off by a person between us, so I couldn't see the owner of the overly excited voice. I've been looking for you. I squeezed through in time to find Haley Spencer, with her arms flung around Evan's neck, pulling him into her well-developed body. One of his hands was holding mine, and his cup was in the other, so he didn't return her embrace. An unwelcome heat turned in my stomach. I quickly shook off the insecurity and attempted to release his hand, but he held on tighter and pulled me closer. Haley stepped back, keeping her hands on the back of his neck. We were just going inside to get another drink. Join us. Her eyes met mine, then traced along my arm. Her eyes tightened when she realized that my hand ended in his. Oh, she said, quickly dropping her hand from his neck. I didn't know you were here with someone. She eyed me up and down cynically. Sorry, Haley, Evan said sympathetically. We were just heading down to the fire pit. He pulled me a little closer, wrapping his arm around me. My breathing stopped as I remained immobilized by his side. I guess I'll see you later then, Haley sulked. She flipped back her hair before strutting into the house, followed by two aghast girls who'd been standing next to her. Evan turned to face me, his hand still on my back, drawing me in so we could talk as people squeezed by us. It remained difficult to breathe while looking up at him, my heart still pounding through my sweater. Still want to go to the fire pit? I nodded with wide eyes. As he turned to head down the stairs, I missed his hand, and we were separated. In that brief second, I was aggressively pulled in the opposite direction with the explanation, Emma Thomas, I heard you were here. The tug dragged me right into the large frame of Scott Kirkland. I can't believe you came to my party. This is the best night ever, he declared in slurred speech. Perfect. He wasn't just drunk. He was obliterated. Thanks for having me, Scott. I tried to step back from his strangling embrace. It's a great party. He peered down at me with half-closed eyes and breathed heavily in my face. Would you go out with me? That's really nice of you, I struggled to find the words while pushing him away with a little more force. But the panic rose in my stomach and spread into my chest. I started breathing faster as I remained trapped against him. I needed to get away from him, but he didn't show any signs of releasing me. Hey, Scott, Evan greeted Scott with an overly... Ollie. This is Olivine. Hey, Scott. Evan greeted Scott with an overly emphatic pat on the back. This is a great party. Thanks, Evan, he slurred. Evan, this is Emma Thomas. Scott captured me against his body with one arm. I had no idea he was so big or strong for that matter. I almost went entirely under his arm. I looked up at Evan in despair. Trying to squirm away, I wasn't making much headway. Yeah, I know, Evan began. Emma and I are going to homecoming together, Scott declared, interrupting Evan. Right, Emma? No. I was finally able to back out from under his arm. My face was bright red and my hair clung to my cheeks. Scott lifted his arm in confusion, searching for me. Evan took my shaking hand and gently guided me next to him. I tried to regain my breath, overcome with the sudden need to sit down. Emma, I think Sarah's looking for you. Evan scanned my face in concern. Scott, we'll be right back. Before Scott could respond, Evan held my hand tightly and led me down the stairs. Stop it. My knees buckled slightly, but I recovered and kept my feet moving beneath me. We went around the corner, and I collapsed on the stone wall under the deck. Evan crouched in front of me and looked up, trying to meet my eyes. Are you okay? That was crazy. I'm sorry I lost you. I took a deep breath and tried to will my hands to stop shaking. I couldn't understand why I was so worked up. Evan gingerly took my hand in his and looked at me intently, trying to keep me to focus on him. I stared straight ahead, desperately needing to pull myself together. I barely noticed he was there. There was something about the crowd, the smell of liquor rolling in the air, swirled with cigarette smoke, that transported me to another place. A place I could barely remember. But I had a feeling I didn't want to return there. There was no space among the bodies, no space to breathe or move without being touched and jostled. The confinement and groping had created a storm that erupted before I knew how to contain it. I shivered, not wanting to remember what was beginning to stir. Emma, look at me. His voice was soothing. Are you okay? I found his blue eyes and began to focus. My face became hot when I realized what I must have looked like to him. I tried to stand up, and he backed up to give me space, but my legs weren't as ready as my mind. I wobbled, he caught me by my elbows and pulled me into him to steady me. I felt his breath against my face as he peered down to examine me. Maybe you should sit down again. But he didn't move to let me go. My pulse quickened with the warmth of his body against me as my hands rested on the hard curves of his chest. I looked up at him, but he was too close. I panicked and backed away. He let me go easily. We stood still for a second until I finally said without looking up at him, I'm fine, really, but my quivering body betrayed me. Olivine. Stop it. I was mortified. I must have appeared so pathetic. This was probably not the best first party for you. Evan said gently, maybe you should try something with about 10 people before you jump to 100. No. Stop it. I pressed my lips into a smile and shrugged. He offered a warm smile in return. Do you want to leave? No, you stay, I encouraged, determined to regain my composure. I'm fine. I'm going to sit by the fire. We continued to walk around the corner where a cut stone patio lay next to the dark silhouette of trees along the perimeter of the property. In the center sat a wall encasing a blazing fire. There were 24 chairs around the fire, but only half were occupied. I sat down in a chair on the far side of a small group talking and giggling in low voices. Evan, I pleaded, go have fun. I'll wait here for Sarah. Thank you for bailing me out tonight, but I can take care of myself, I swear. His delving eyes tried to read my face, making me wish I could disappear and erase the whole night. I stared into the fire, unable to bear his silent inquisition. "I'll be right back," he assured me. "I'll find Sarah and get us something to drink, okay?" The careful tone of his voice fueled my embarrassment. I still couldn't look at him as he walked back toward the house. I couldn't believe I'd let him see me like this, unable to fend for myself. I fumed in disgust at my vulnerability. I didn't want Evan to think I needed protecting. I pulled back my torment and let the numb blanket envelop me, pushing away the stirred memories, the noise of the crowd, and the trembling that still lay beneath the surface. I stared at the flames, looking at the darkness, and everything was lost as I sank deeper into nothingness. "You know it's raining, right?" Evan asked from the seat next to me. I looked around, snapping back from my empty place. I was the only one sitting in front of the dwindling flames. A steady cold rain pasted my hair to my face, causing me to shiver. Evan stared at the few defiant flames that remained, ignoring the rain while holding his black camera case. "Are you going to stop talking to me?" Evan asked quietly. A smile spread across my face, turning my head toward him. "No," I started to laugh. "What?" he asked, surprised by my reaction. A half smile crept across his face as he tried to get the joke. I get accosted by a drunken bear and completely freak out, humiliating myself, and you're afraid I'm not going to talk to you?" I laughed again. Evan smiled lightly, still not getting the humor in my explanation. "Why were you humiliated?" Serious once again. I shrugged, hugging my knees into my chest, trying to suppress the shivering. I wasn't sure if I wanted to explain my vulnerability to him. He waited patiently for me to find the words. I took a deep breath. "I saw the way you looked at me. I know how I must have come across reacting like that." I looked down. "I hate that you keep seeing me at my worst. This really isn't me." "Emma," Sarah hollered from under the deck before Evan could answer. "You're crazy. Get out of the rain." I suddenly realized I was wearing Sarah's cashmere sweater and jumped up to join her. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot I had your sweater on." "I don't care about the sweater," she replied. "What are you guys doing out there? You must be freezing." Evan joined us under the deck. "Getting some fresh air," Evan answered with a smile. He was rubbing his arms, registering the cold. "You're a bad influence on her," Sarah scowled at Evan, but it melted into a smile. She wasn't good at being mad, probably as bad as I was at delivering my forced smiles. "Ready to go?" she asked me. "Where's Jason?" I asked, not sure if I should be concerned. "He rode home with one of the football players," she explained. With a twinkle in her eye, I knew I was going to get a good story in the car. "Let's walk around the house," I suggested. "I'd rather not go back inside." We ran to Sarah's car, trying to avoid being in the rain as much as we could. When we got in, Sarah started the engine and turned on the heat full blast. Evan leaned against my door, remaining in the rain while waiting for me to roll down the window. He bent down to peer in through the opening. The water ran down his artistically structured face, dripping off the tip of his nose over his shivering blue lips. My breath escaped me as I took in his smoky eyes. "Can I call you tomorrow?" "You can't, actually," I grimaced. He looked confused. "It's complicated. I don't exactly have phone privileges." I hated to say it out loud, but I didn't want him to think I was rejecting him. The questioning look didn't quite leave his eyes, but he tried to respond understandingly. "Okay, then I'll see you Monday?" "Yeah, Monday." He lingered a second too long, and I couldn't breathe again. "Good night," I finally said, exhaling. "Get out of the rain before you freeze to death." He stood up and casually raised his hand to wave as I rolled up the window. He ran back into the house. "No way! Was he going to kiss you?" Sarah shrieked, breaking my lingering stare. "Emma, I swear if I wasn't in the car, he would have kissed you." "No, he wouldn't have," I said dismissively. My heart collapsed at the thought of Evan leaning in just a little closer. I shook it off. "You need to share details," she demanded as we pulled onto the road. "You first," I insisted. Sarah didn't hesitate. The entire ride home she gushed about her time with Jason. It was dark inside her house when we walked in. I think we beat my parents' hymn. What time is it? I asked, having no idea how much time had passed since we left the house earlier in the evening. 11:30. It was earlier than I thought. That meant I'd only been at the party for a little over an hour. It seemed like so much longer. But now that I looked back at it, I hadn't really done much. Evan and I hadn't had a real conversation the whole time we were there. I was too busy trying to avoid being grappled by drunken idiots. I got ready for bed and scrubbed off the makeup that the rain hadn't already washed away. If I were caught wearing makeup, I would probably need it to hide what Carol would do to me. Last year, Sarah had given me a few samples of lipsticks she didn't want. I tried them on, but ended up wiping the colors off with a tissue. Then I returned from practice that evening. Carol confronted me with a tissue removed from the bathroom trash, accusing me of trying to sneak around wearing makeup behind her back after she had already told me it wasn't allowed. She called me a whore and other derogatory names as she squeezed my cheeks together so tightly in her hand that my teeth ground into the soft tissue until they bled. So I'd rather have raw skin than face another second round over the makeup issue. As we lay in the dark, Sarah insisted, "You have to tell me what happened with you and Evan tonight." I'd hoped that Sarah would be so lost in her night with Jason that she'd have forgotten all about me, and we could avoid this conversation. No such luck. I stared into the darkness above me, not certain where to begin. I talked to him, I confessed. I was quiet for a moment. "Please don't make me drag this out of you." I found out he's from San Francisco, and that he may move back if he doesn't like it here, I added. "I can only hope." "What do you mean?" She sounded confused. "It looked like you guys really connected from where I was sitting. You know, his almost kissing you." My cheeks warmed at the mention of the close proximity of his face to mine when we had said goodnight. "Sarah, I can't do this." My voice grew stronger. "I barely talked to him. He spent most of the night rescuing me from drunken, hormonal gorillas. It was pretty pathetic. I don't want to like him. I don't want there to be any more moments where he may kiss me. I need to stay away from him." "I'm so confused," Sarah confessed. "I thought we had a plan." "And who was hitting on you? Now I feel bad that I wasn't there." "Don't," I said with a nudge in my voice. "That's just it. I don't want to be protected or looked after. I should be so much stronger than to need you or Evan Matthews to stand up for me. I don't know how I'm going to be able to look at him on Monday." "That's not what I meant," Sarah said quietly. I heard the hurt in her voice. "I know you don't want me protecting you. You've made that clear way before tonight. But I feel bad because I knew how hard tonight was going to be for you, and from the sounds of it, it was pretty horrible. I should have been there as your friend, that's all. But it shouldn't be horrible, Sarah. It's just a stupid party, and I freaked. I could barely function. I sighed in frustration. I was glad it was dark so she couldn't see the tears welling in my eyes. I clenched my jaw and swallowed the lump in my throat. I took a calming breath to be rid of the dizzying emotion, wiping my cheeks dry. Safe again, I turned away from Sarah. "I'm sorry, Sarah," I said softly. "It's been a long day, and I'm being ridiculous. We have to get up early so I can get home to do my chores. Let's just get some sleep, okay?" "Okay," she whispered. I was afraid that sleep wouldn't come easily, but with all that my psyche had fought throughout the day, I was exhausted.